You're listening to Engaging Early Learners. I'm Rachel Glassman, special education teacher and resource creator. This podcast is your go-to for classroom strategies and teaching support that you can actually use. Whether you're on your way to work or heading home, I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 2. Today we are going to be talking about a systems deep dive. In our last episode, we talked about the big shift, moving from fixing kids or fixing behaviors to fixing our systems. So we established that most behavior struggles are actually systems problems, and they're in our control for the most part. But I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, Rachel, I get it. Systems are the answer. But what does that look like when my kids are literally doing somersaults on the rug and I'm trying to start a phonics lesson? Or my student is literally shoving his chair over and it's falling on the floor. So today is all about the practical part of it. So I'm giving you 5 specific low prep but high impact strategies that you can implement literally tomorrow morning to tighten up those systems and lower the collective heart rate of your classroom. So strategy number 1, we have the visual anchor for transitions. So we talked about how unpredictability equals dysregulation, and a visual schedule is step 1, but a visual anchor is step 2. So a visual anchor is a specific image or an object that signals exactly what a student should be doing during a transition. So the must-have list, like on your whiteboard, instead of just saying, get ready for math, draw or post 3 icons: a book, a pencil, and a folder. So what does that signal for your students? That signals that they need to have a book, a pencil, and a folder for math. So for me, what does that look like? I use daily slides. So on my daily slides, I would put up a book, a pencil, and a folder, and the top heading is math. So my students do not even need to read. They do not even need to really use too much of their brain. They just need to look up at that visual anchor that tells them exactly what they will need, and it's pictures. It's easy. And yes, my students can read, so can I write? Book, pencil, folder? Sure. But even as adults, aren't pictures just easier? Another one. The parked position. I've used this one in the past. So we have used parking lots. So where there are taped off squares on student desks or even on the floor for when a transition bell goes off, their body or their materials go in the parking lot first. That is the parked position. They are parked. So for example, in my 2nd grade classroom, we had these pencil holders at the top of the students' desks. They were blue and plastic. We got them from Lakeshore, and the parked position for their pencil was in that blue folder. So my students knew that when I said put your pencil in park, they knew that it meant in that blue plastic holder. So it takes that guessing out of the movement. When a child can see what ready looks like, they don't have to use their mental energy as much to figure it out. They just follow that anchor, and the anchor is the park position. Just like for the visuals on the board, the anchor is the pictures. They don't need to use so much mental energy by reading long directions of what to take out. They just need to follow the anchor of the visual picture. Okay. So with that being understood, let's move into strategy number 2. So choral response and hand signals. So we talked about reducing weighting in episode 1. And by reducing weighting, I mean the weighting that some of our kids need to do if just one person is answering a question. When a bunch of our students are waiting because one student is answering a question or participating, there's a lot that can go on with those other kids because they're bored and they're waiting. So the quickest way to kill a behavior struggle is to eliminate that dead air while you're waiting for one student to answer. So instead of raise your hand, blah, 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 one student raises their hand, you call on that one student. You can use these 2 systems, for example. The wait and pop. So you ask a question, you put your hand up to signal think time, no one talks yet when you're talking. Then you drop your hand down and the whole class pops and they all answer the question at once. So it keeps everyone's brain turned on. So for example, What is 5 plus 5? And then I count down from 5 in my head. I give them wait time to think about it. My hand is still up. And then as soon as my hand goes down, they can pop. So they get to pop out the question, no yelling, but they get to say it out loud. So that's called the wait and pop. That's a great one. It's super fun if you feel like you like that idea and that your kids can handle it. It's a super fun one. I'll give one more example just so that you understand. If you're not watching on YouTube, this might be a little bit difficult to explain. So let me explain it one more time and explain what I'm doing with my hand. So let's say we're in math and we are practicing our math facts. And the question is, what is 6 plus 10? So I say out loud with my hand raised, what is 6 plus 10? My hand stays up. I'm counting down from 5 in my head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When my hand goes down, my students know it's their turn to pop. And it would be so fun, oh my gosh, for the young ones to pretend like they're popcorn and they all say the answer once. Now, of course, you would have to practice this because I know some of my kiddos would want to yell the answer. I know some of them would want to say it more than once, like 16, 16, 16. You say it once, you don't yell. But what a fun way to get students to participate and want to participate without having any wait time. Everyone's involved, everyone's engaged. And then another one is universal hand signals. So I have used this in many of my classrooms. So if a kid needs a bathroom, water, tissue, they shouldn't have to like interrupt the flow of the lesson because that is one of my biggest pet peeves. Use simple signals. So 1 finger for bathroom, 2 fingers up for water, and you can give a simple like point and nod to that student or even just make eye contact with them, nod without stopping your whole sentence, and they get up, they go to the bathroom, or they get water. I know in my classroom this year we are using like a bathroom water sign at the front of my classroom. One side is red, one side is green. When it is on the red side, they are not allowed to go use the bathroom or water. And when it is on green, they can go to the bathroom or get water whenever they want. They do not need to ask. We know what they're doing. Now, this works because we have many parts in the day where they're able to go to the bathroom and get water. I don't want to restrict them. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm restricting my kids from bathroom and water. But this does give clear boundaries of when I am teaching and that sign is on red. You're sitting and listening. You're not getting up, getting water, or going to the bathroom. It's not a good time. And that just teaches them, obviously, those boundaries, but also just respect. You know, when they're talking to me or they're learning, I don't want to interrupt that by me going to the bathroom. So it's kind of the same thing. The hand signals, or what I just talked about, the green and red sign, which, by the way, that's in my free resource library. I can put the link below. Either one of those, it keeps the pacing tight. The pacing is a behavior management tool. So if our pacing begins to get slow and choppy or has a lot of breaks in it, then our students have opportunities unstructurally to start having behaviors. So we want to make sure we keep our pacing tight. That way we keep our behavior management tight and we have less time for behaviors to happen. When the lesson is moving, the behavior struggles don't have time to start. So that's something to keep in mind. Strategy number 3, the call and response reset. So if you find yourself raising your voice to get attention or constantly having to use a chime or the doorbell and it's kind of losing its effect, then the system is broken. So you need like an auditory cue that isn't just your angry voice or the same old sounds that they've been hearing. Sometimes we need to switch it up. So you can try a tiered call and response. So like level 1 with like energy would be the teacher being like, holy moly, and the student saying guacamole. And you can use this when they're working or you just need them to look up. Or if you want like just a simple quiet, like a level 2 call and response, it could just be like a simple clapping situation. Or a level 3 could be like an emergency and you can use, that's when maybe you can use your wireless doorbell or your chime. So you can have different tiers or different levels in place for your call and responses. You could do monthly call and responses. I worked with a teacher once that had different ones monthly and she would display them on the board. So it's not like you had to memorize them every month, but the kids did end up memorizing them because they were just so fun. But monthly ones are cute because for the different holidays or times of year or the seasons, there's cute like different call and responses. So the key is the key to any of these call and responses, no matter what you choose to do, is that freeze. So I tell my students, like, when you hear whatever, your hands go up. So in my classroom, it is a complete stop what you're doing, pencils down, markers down, hands up. And we practice this many, many, many times to the point where it literally becomes like a reflex. They hear that sound, they hear that call and response, they hear that chime, and they know their hands go up. I'm not yelling. I'm not getting loud. I'm not raising my voice in any sort of way. I'm not repeating myself 100 times for kids that aren't listening. It just becomes a system. And whatever that system is ends up doing the work for you. So whether it is the call and response, the chime, the anything we just talked about, that becomes what is doing the work, not you. One less thing we have to do in a day. Okay. Strategy number 4, the 3-to-1 direction system. So in episode 1, we mentioned bite-sized directions. So here is an actual formula that I use. 3 visuals, 1 verb. And I've used this many times before. So when you give a direction, you should be able, the kid should be able to see it, touch it, picture it, and then you give the verb. So for example, they should be able to see what you want them to do. They should be able to touch it, like what do they actually need to be doing, and then picture it. They need to be able to picture like the outcome, like what do you want from them. So the verb part of this. So you want to use one action word, like write, cut, glue. We often get mixed up in like burying our directions in what I call a word sandwich. So it gets all messy, like, okay, friends, I really need you to find your blue folders. And then if you could please sit down and start working on the first page, blah, 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 blah. Stop. Try this. Blue folder, page 1, start. Or on my board this year, I have numbers 1 through 6, and I have little cards. I got it from Miss M's kindergarten something on TPT. I will link it below. But Miss M's kindergarten resources, I think. She has this amazing visual directions product, and basically numbers 1 through 6 on my board. And then I have different cards for different activities. So maybe the card is cut, glue, color, raise your hand, mailbox. So my students know for that worksheet, they need to cut things out. The first one is always write your name. I forgot that. So write your name. Then they need to cut. Then they need to glue, then they need to color, then they need to raise their hand because they get it checked, and then it goes in their mailbox. So those are the steps that they need to take. Those visual directions help so much. If you need to verbally say that, fine, but to be able to have it up is so much easier, because this year when I have done worksheets or we have done activities and my students don't know what to do mid-activity, mid-worksheet, I'm pointing. I'm just pointing. I'm not using my energy. I'm not using my voice. I'm not getting worked up. I'm pointing. You don't know what to do? Look at the direction, because we've already talked about it, right? We've talked about it. I showed them. Remember the first couple steps? See it, touch it, picture it. So they saw it. They touched it. They could picture it because I've shown them what I expect from them, what I want them to do. But now when it comes to the verbs, they're up there, and they're visually up there. And that's a system. Speaking of systems, that's a system that could really help you. That could also go on your slides. I'm a big slides girl, so that could go simply on your slides. I just so happen to also have that in my classroom, but definitely you can just type it into your slides. So in closing, let's talk about the power of the redo. So my final strategy for you is the positive redo. So if a transition is messy or a behavior struggle breaks out during a routine, don't just lecture them. Don't just talk about it, because I promise you with all my heart, it's going in one ear and out the other, and they're moving on. I want you to stop, take 30 seconds, go back to the starting point of that transition or that routine or whatever went down. And I want you to say, that didn't really feel like us. I feel like we could do better. Let's try that again so that we can all feel successful. No one's in trouble. It's just a systems check. And I promise you, as a teacher, you will feel better, because then they're going to do it better the next time. And as the kids, you're not getting a lecture, you're not getting yelled at, you're given a second chance. So again, it's not a punishment. It is just a systems check. You're showing them that the system really matters, more than the speed of doing it or just like moving on to the next thing. It matters to you. It matters to them. It matters to like our environment as a whole, as a class. It matters that we redo this because it means something to everyone that we know our routines, and that will make them clean up the next routine as well. So I want you to try just one of those tomorrow if you can. Like if something, doesn't feel right in your classroom, I don't want you to try to use every single strategy we just talked about in this entire episode. I want you to try one of these things. Do not try all 5. Pick the one that addresses your loudest or your biggest struggle point. And next episode, we could talk more about some of these things. But if you do try any of these things, I definitely want you to let me know. Head over to my Instagram at Engaging Early Learners and DM me. I will answer you right away. I cannot wait to hear what you try. You've got this. Remember that better systems equals better teaching, which equals better behavior and more learning and all of the amazing things. I will see you next time. Have an awesome day.